Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Zoe, I'm 21 and I live in Sydney, and today is going to be a little different. I'm going to do a sit down video today, and as you can see by the title, I'm going to be talking about sort of like how to get over a breakup and how to get through heartbreak. I've got my trusty friend Stell here. She's chilling, she's got all her toys, she's got her rabbit, her duck, and her whale that's like deflated. She's chilling, just living her best life. Feel free to settle in, grab a snack and a drink, and we're really gonna dive into the nitty-gritty, the deep, ugly, and the introspectiveness of it all. So I hope you enjoy the video today, and let's get into it. Also, for reference, I am obviously not a relationship expert, don't have any degree in that, don't have any experience in that, maybe not a lot, but I know a little bit, so I thought I'd share that today. So whether you take it with a grain of salt, whether you listen and something resonates, so let's get into it. I wanted to start with why being single is good. I'm single right now, so I'm a bit biased, but I think singlehood is good because I think it's important to find anchorage in yourself. By that I mean feeling at home with yourself, feeling like you don't need to rely on someone to feel stable, and you feel stable within yourself. Going through a breakup is a really good time to learn about yourself. It is a good time that sort of forces you to strengthen your self-reliance and your self-love. Obviously doing this without having to experience a breakup is ideal, but if the catalyst is a breakup and you get to that point of self-love and self-reliance, that's great too. I have written down something that I discussed a lot with a psychologist, and that's self-hand-holding. So it kind of leads into the same idea of anchoring in yourself, but it's being your own best friend, being your own best buddy, and holding your own hand and sort of giving yourself a little pat on the shoulder to say it's okay. You know, it's that self-soothing kind of idea. Here's a really great line, and I want you to take this in: to be in a position where the alternative to being in a relationship is really good. And what that means is that you are not putting everything into this relationship. You're not putting all your self-worth, all your enjoyment and happiness into this relationship. You obviously can find a lot of happiness in this relationship, but it's not like if this relationship was to be taken away from you, you would be in shambles. The idea is that if you had that relationship taken away from you, you would still be whole on your own and you would be okay. So if you are in a relationship right now, that is the state of mind and being that you want to be in. And I can speak from personal experience. I didn't have that mindset and I wasn't in that position, and it just makes it 10 times harder if when you break up and you don't have that person that was feeding you all this happiness and self-assurance. And yeah, it's a scary place to be in when you can't find that in yourself, I think. So that's my thoughts on why being single is really important, because I think you need to build those skills of being your own anchor, being your own best friend, and being okay being single and alone. There's always someone out there that you can hop into a relationship with, but at the end of the day, you only have yourself. And I think a lot of people understand this, but I think it's also something that people maybe avoid, knowing that you only have yourself. At the end of the day, you can only truly rely on yourself. That might sound a little depressing. I'm sure your friends and family are very supportive and reliable, but at the end of the day, you can only truly rely on yourself. And I think to embrace it, you need to learn to love and enjoy feeling lost, feeling uncomfortable, feeling unstable. You need to learn to, if not love it, embrace it and cope with it, because it's a part of life. Life is unpredictable, life changes, and people come and go. and you kind of have to be in a position where that's okay because you have yourself. Now, leading on to this, codependence. Now, codependence is something that I personally think I struggle with. I have a very anxious attachment style. If you don't know, there's my dog snoring. You're snoring. There's 3 attachment styles: anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, and secure attachment. And there's probably a lot more, but those are the main 3 ideas. So anxious attachment is obviously you have this codependence, you have this reliance on the other person. Avoidant attachment is as soon as you feel yourself getting emotionally close to someone, you retreat. And a secure attachment is kind of what we were talking about before, is that self-assurance, that self-anchorage, that self-secureness. That is the ultimate goal. You want to be content in yourself. Feeling codependent leads you into a position where you rely on someone else for your happiness, and you feel like you need to constantly see them to top up your happiness. And I think if you have suspicions that you're codependent, you need to ask yourself, am I seeing this person, dating this person out of desperation or as a distraction? Am I doing this out of genuine happiness? And if you can say, I am in this relationship because I don't want to be alone, and if that resonates with you, and if you feel in your gut that, as I'm saying and asking you, is being in this relationship something you're doing because you're afraid of being alone, if that is resonating with you right now, I think you should sit with that and ask yourself why that is hitting you in your gut and in your heart in that way. Our gut knows when you get that internal feeling, and that gut feeling, don't ignore it. A lot of the time it's correct. This is really random, but something that helped with my codependence was watching Emma Chamberlain's YouTube videos. I've mentioned her in the past. I really enjoy her YouTube videos where she promotes spending time alone, and 2, it sort of romanticizes it in a way, and it makes me want to feel that level of comfortability in myself. If you want some inspiration, I would recommend watching Emma Chamberlain's YouTube videos. Drink break. Now I want to give some recommendations. So basically, when I went through my breakup, it was a while ago, 1.5 years or so ago. Basically, this is a very personal YouTube video. I don't know why I'm just thinking about that now. But anyway, I really do hope I can help someone in any way. So please comment below if anything I'm saying is resonating, because I would love to know that me divulging all my personal things is of use. So basically, when I went through my breakup, I felt like my way through it was to educate myself and to learn about breakups and how to get through a breakup, and to listen to as many podcasts and as many YouTube videos and as many articles that I could to learn about a breakup and how to get through it. And so that's what I did. And as I did that, I thought, why don't I make a note of what I have really enjoyed and found helpful, so that, this sounds morbid, but when my friends go through breakup, I can then send them the resources and it can hopefully help them as well. So I have this list of things that I found helpful that I'm going to share with you guys. So firstly, Brené Brown. If many of you don't know, she is a sort of a researcher. I think that's how she would describe herself. She has written many books, and she's been on a lot of podcasts, so I found her through a podcast. So the books that I read were The Gifts of Imperfection and Into the Wilderness. They're just fascinating. It's about human behavior, and obviously, like, I study sociology, so I already love that stuff. It was so long ago that I read it, so I don't quite remember the specifics, but I remember reading it. And you know when you get that like aha moment? It was just like an entire book of ahas. And I was like, damn, this is just such a fascinating book. I would recommend to go have a look, read some reviews, and if it's something that interests you, I would highly recommend giving it a read, giving it an audio book listen. See if you can learn more about yourself. through her research. Next, I've got the Relationship Podcast, and that's what they're called on Spotify. It's episode 339, Surviving Your Breakup. I used to listen to this podcast a lot. They give a lot of relationship advice, and so I used to listen to it a lot when I was in my relationship, just because, once again, I like to learn about things. Also, they would interview really fascinating people. And then I was listening to this episode because I had just gone through my breakup, and I was like, wow, this is perfect timing. The podcast was hosted by this couple, and in the episode, they announce, or it's the husband doing the podcast, and he announces that they got divorced. Or maybe he doesn't announce, but he discusses that him and his partner have divorced, and they were the ones doing the podcast together anyway. I thought it was so crazy. So I was like, wow, we're going through breakups at the same time. And that was kind of comforting to me in a way. Next is this podcast called Processing Podcast. They basically talk all about the grieving process, and they interview people who have experienced loss in all forms. It can be a little depressing, I'm not gonna lie. Some episodes you listen and you're like, ooh. Naturally, when you discuss grief and loss, breakups come up. So they do an episode dedicated to breakups that I really enjoyed. It's this mother-daughter duo. I feel like they just have a very profound and insightful way of looking at the world. So feel free to give that a listen. I will link everything in the description so you don't have to go out and try and find it. So have a look in the description for these resources. Next is To Be Honest, the podcast. One of the episodes is about breakups. So they're two best friends, Cara and Amanda, who live in the Gold Coast, and they have a podcast together. Unfortunately, last month, or maybe a couple months ago, they actually did their final episode because Cara is moving to Melbourne. Their just lives are taking them in different directions, so they decided to end the podcast, which I'm really sad about because I really liked their perspective on things. But they did a breakup podcast that I also urge you to listen to. I also discovered them because Amanda is a vegan. Well, they're both vegan, and my sister's vegan, so I was looking up vegan cooking ideas on YouTube, and that is Amanda's niche. So if you're vegan as well and want some cooking inspiration, Amanda is where to go. So my battery died, but let's start back at how to break up. First of all, if you don't want to make the big leap to break up, you could have a break, see how life is without each other. But if you do, highly recommend set clear parameters for that break. And what this means is, are you going to see other people? How long is this break going to be? How are we going to end the break? Who's communicating with who? And what the basic terms are. If you do decide to break up, I think going no contact for the initial period is crucial to if you're trying to remain friends in the future. I think this because, first of all, I listened to so many articles and podcasts that recommended it, so I was like, okay, I guess this is the way forward. And secondly, it gives yourself time to process your emotions on your own and with your circle of people, and it's just a time to be selfish. Like, I know that you'll want to ask the other person how they are and comfort them, but when you are the source of someone's pain, you can't take away that pain. Which sounds really weird, but basically what I'm trying to say is, if that person and this breakup is the source of that pain, comforting each other is not going to help in the ways that will help you move forward. So what I recommend is take maybe a month. It's a long time, I know. Don't contact each other, and in a month's time, text that person and say, hey, how are you? Let's catch up, let's chat. I want to know how you're doing, how your life's been. And then when you do check in in a neutral environment. Check in at a cafe, check in on a walk, check in somewhere that's not each other's houses. If you need more time, take more time. Take another month and keep doing it until you feel okay that you can be around that person and not feel like it's emotionally loaded. Like the experience is taxing and emotionally exhausting for you. And please respect each other's boundaries. Don't go messaging that person. If you decide, let's have space for 2 weeks, take 2 weeks. Don't go messaging them after 2 days because you're so distraught. Because you are not only disrupting your own healing process, but you're disrupting the other person's. And if there's someone that you truly love and care about, you don't want to take away healing from that person. Next, if you can, and obviously this isn't ideal for all situations, remain amicable, remain friends on any definition of the word. You can be just loose friends, you don't have to be best friends. Don't burn any bridges if there's no need. If they are a genuine good person, why burn that bridge? Don't engage in drama. Don't engage in trash talking that person. Nobody wins a breakup. What does that even mean? I don't think that is a healthy way to view a breakup. If you love and care about a person, why would you wish them an inferior recovery to yourself? So let's just keep things amicable. Obviously, that's not applicable in every situation. That is my personal experience, so that's all I can speak on. If you are breaking up from someone who is not the most mature, take the high road. Following from that, think before you reply. This is advice my mum gave me when you're having a potentially heated conversation on text. This is in general. Think before you reply. If you need to, sleep on it. Because you won't regret not responding, but you will regret saying something awful that you didn't mean. Now, how to sort of handle the breakup? I think it's a time for you to be selfish. In those first few weeks, your friends will be taking care of you. They will treat you extra special, and they'll be checking in on you, and they'll be making sure that you're doing okay. So embrace it. And this is important, allow yourself to feel the emotions and do not rush into a rebound. Don't do it. You're doing a disservice to yourself. Back to the points that I was making earlier about anchoring in yourself and self-love. I can't stress this enough. Learn that being on your own is okay. Being single is okay. It's fun. It's not the end of the world to be single. A couple of good advice pieces is when someone shows you who they are, listen to them. Actions speak louder than words. We don't want toxic people in our life. We do not want immature people in our lives. I also recommend forgiving yourself and your ex-partner and letting go of all grudges and altercations that happened in the relationship if you're looking to move forward into a friendship. Rehashing things that happened in the relationship, not fun. That doesn't need to be brought into this new iteration of your relationship. So let go of those grudges, because holding grudges in life is a waste of energy. Next, you might not be able to eat. You might struggle to sleep, and you might struggle to do things that you normally could do post-breakup. What I did was I started listening to meditations before I went to sleep. I'll play them as I would fall asleep, so that I had noise in the background, so that I had this person literally hypnotizing me to sleep. I used this app called Insight Timer. I also wrote a list of affirmations, and I have it still on the back of my door in my bedroom, and it's just something to read every day to slowly internalize things like I am independent, I am self-sufficient, the things we were talking about before. Even if you don't believe it, if you keep telling yourself I am this, I am that, eventually you start forming new neural pathways that you'll start to come around to the idea that you're independent and self-sufficient. And eventually it'll sink in and you will be unrecognizable. I think the worst thing you can do is to take away discovery from someone. If you're in a relationship where you both have outgrown it but you're holding on because it's comfortable, just know that you don't want to take away discovery for yourself. Your life could be so different and could go in so many different ways if you just take that leap of faith. Along that same vein, have new experiences. I joined this like Zumba dance class and I did that. It wasn't really my thing. I enjoyed it, but the group of people were all very like serious and not super friendly. I kind of didn't love that, but I tried something new. I joined the community garden that I am with. I traveled alone. I went to Cairns in Queensland last year and I stayed in a hostel by myself. That was such a crazy experience that I did all these things by myself, and I was so proud of myself for being so independent. I went camping alone this year. I'm sure many people would argue it was super unsafe, but hey, I survived. I think the thing people forget about when you're single is you can do whatever the hell you want. And if you guys have heard this quote, I've been rewatching Sex and the City. There's this quote by Kim Cattrall. I'm not sure if that's how you say her name, but she's Samantha from Sex and the City. She says, "I don't want to be in a situation for even an hour where I'm not enjoying myself." And that's like, we're going in such a tangent right now, but that's something that I feel like is so interesting. And obviously, you know, she's in a position of privilege, so she can, you know, not work a job she doesn't love. But I still think it's applicable to all of us that if we're not in a situation where we're enjoying ourselves, we don't have to be in that situation. The stages of grief. Let's go through them. They're not linear, but I think it's comforting to say, okay, I'm in this stage, I know what's to come. And you don't necessarily experience it all, but this is sort of a generalized understanding for most people. So we've got shock and denial. Everyone responds differently, and that won't necessarily be denial of what's happened, but a denial of how you feel about the situation. Anger and blame, sadness and depression, acceptance and healing. I remember initially when I went through my breakup, I was laughing because not like manically, but like everything was just funny to me because that was how I was coping. It was really weird. Like looking back, that was weird. But it's just how I coped. I wasn't in denial, but that was my shock response because I was just laughing. I think it's almost how like when something happens and you're in such disbelief and you're like, how the hell does this happen? And you laugh because like I was in that relationship for quite a while and I was like, oh my God, like my life's about to change. Haha. I don't know. I can't explain it. It's rational. Following on from that, the importance of talking with a support group, with your friends. Go to therapy. I joined this group of people who talked about Buddhism, and my dad had previously gone to see this group and they were in just like a community hall. It wasn't like a religious like ceremony. I think Buddhism is really cool because I feel like it's just life advice, and I'm not oversimplifying, but what I was taking from it was just an interesting perspective. And I think when you're in that vulnerable position, you're sort of looking for guidance. I joined and I enjoyed it, and I left because I'm not really Buddhist, but it was cool. I enjoyed it. If you don't have people to talk to, journal. Even if it's just swearing into a piece of paper like over and over and over again, that can be cathartic too. Don't underestimate the power of writing F you so-and-so, F you so-and-so 1,000 times. I won't judge. Also, journal what you're grateful for, because in a breakup, everything feels like the world is ending. But if you can find one little thing that makes things enjoyable, I really had a yummy dinner. The sun was out. I liked my outfit. I slept through the night. They can be the tiniest little things, but it just helps reroute your brain into thinking more positively. Ask yourself, why am I feeling like this? And really try to sit with those emotions. I talked so much with my mum. I think the important thing is don't feel like you're a burden because you're talking about your breakup for the 20th time, because everybody goes through it. I think it's just a rite of passage that when you go through a breakup, you're allowed to talk about it over and over and over again. I know some people say, you know, like, oh, it's been X amount of time, get over it. Some people have that attitude, but I think that's unfair. I think there shouldn't be a timeline on how long it takes to get over a breakup. I think if it takes you X amount of time, it is what it is. And I don't think people should invalidate your experience or tell you that you need to move on. If you haven't moved on, that's okay. You're going at it your time. Re-entering the dating world. Scary. There is no right time. Personally, I kissed someone really quickly, really soon after, and it was the weirdest experience because I was like, oh my god, this is a random person. This feels so weird. It was just an experiment. I was just like, what will this feel like? And it felt really weird, but at least I did it. It's weird. I would recommend, obviously, not jumping into a relationship straight away. Let yourself grieve. Kiss people. Try out what feels okay. Just keep checking in with yourself. If something feels too soon, you don't need to do it. If you know that your ex is seeing other people, that doesn't mean you have to. Nuh-uh. You got your own pace. And keep checking in with that gut of yours and see what feels okay. If it doesn't feel right, stop. Make a list of things that you want in a partner, because when you go into new dating situations and you have this list of things that you are looking for and keep reminding yourself, you're setting yourself up for a person to come along that reaches your standards and isn't going to be incompatible with you on maturity level. You want to get what you deserve, right? So I think by having that list of things you want, those incompromisable things, maybe those are nice to haves, and just being aware of what you need and what you want in a relationship never helps to know more information about yourself to make a more informed decision on future dating people. Educate yourself on red flags. This is really important because I think a lot of people can get into relationships and not know that their partner's behavior is something that's not okay. We're not dating toxic people. People shouldn't be telling you how to live your life, how to treat yourself. They shouldn't be. One that I've heard a few times is men telling women how to shave and that they should shave. Red flag. Big red flag. Anyone who's telling anyone how they should be grooming themselves, disturbing. So we want to have that list of the ideal partner, so that we are only allowing that person in. We're not allowing in anyone below our standards, okay? I think this is a bit woo-woo, but in relationships, everything can happen for a reason. I think the end of a relationship can redirect you towards something better. And I think that's really, really hard to see in the moment. But I think the challenge of life is that beautiful things come in unexpected ways. You gotta just be patient and do the right thing, become a greater person, and things will work out for you romantically. If you're going through a breakup right now, I know it's awful. It's so hard, but it will get better with time. And I know it's so frustrating to hear because it's not a quick fix. But I think it takes a combination of moving on with your life and feeling the emotions to grow and become a more amazing and mature person. And I think maturity will help you enjoy life a lot more. When you don't let certain things phase you, have total confidence and self-belief and anchorage in yourself. That is the dream and that is the goal, and let's keep striving for it. And I hope that this video has provided you with something. I hope you can take away a few helpful things. This is basically how I look at relationships, and this is how I would talk to a friend if they were asking me for advice, or if they were going through a breakup, and this is how I would recommend things and help them feel better. If you're in the moment, just know I got through the moment, and so can you, and it will get better. Just keep reminding yourself and don't succumb to the overwhelm, because it will get better. There are always silver linings and there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And now I'm sounding very positive, and I know that's probably sometimes sickening to hear, but I think it will turn out okay for you, because it turned out okay for me. And even if it's not always okay, it's turning out okay. So with that long video, I really, really hope that I provided some help for anyone. Thank you so much for watching if you watched till the end. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.